What is up, guys? It is Robert of Gaming with Me, and today I'm joined by the Legend of Retro and Clocked It because today it's almost been crazy enough to say it 10 years since the Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes has released, and we have finally played it so many years later. And it's really because Nintendo did shut down the Wii U and 3DS Online, and so we kind of panicked and said, we gotta play this damn game, and so we did indeed play this damn game. And I had a blast with it. We all had a blast with it. And I honestly just wanted to talk about just kind of the history with this game, our experience with this game, because it really did, I feel, impact us in some sort of way. This game was revealed and released in 2015. It was revealed in E3 2015, which just looked it up, and admittedly, I don't remember. And I am curious to see, do you guys remember having any feeling on this game? And also just the release, did you pick it up? Did you not pick it up and release? Let me hear. What about you guys? How did that happen for you in 2015?
Should I go or should you go?
Whoever wants to go. Whoever wants to go. Either
Gentlemen first.
Yeah, okay, I'll go first then. I don't remember. I mean, we mentioned it was E3 2015, but God, to try and remember that exact announcement for this particular game is pretty hard. But I do remember not hating it. I remember thinking, "Oh, cool! Another multiplayer Zelda game." I didn't actually think, art style and graphical wise at the time it looked great, because I'm also coming from like stuff like I did play the other multiplayer Zelda games, which I loved, back then, but unfortunately for me, I think it came a bit too late, a bit too. In that 3DS era where multiplayer wise I was almost solo by myself on a 3DS, so I was definitely not going to get it on day one and play it by myself. Absolutely not. So that's kind of where I was at that time with it. So yeah, those are just my initial things on it. What about you, Legend of Retro?
I remember. That's why I thought there was a reveal trailer, because I remember the reveal trailer. I have two specific scenes from it in my head, and I was like, I mean, obviously my first reaction was, why does it need to look like Toon-like? It's not exactly the same thing, but it is what they went for. But I saw the gameplay and I was like, this looks cool. This looks amazing. And I was like, who am I going to play this with? And at that time, I was in a group chat with two of my friends, and we were always playing Animal Crossing New Leaf. And I said to them, "Is like, yo, would you girls like to play this together? Like, it's a 3-player co-op game." So I bought it at launch, and they bought it, but it just never happened. At that point, I think the paths diverge in our lives and stuff, and it just literally never happened. So I literally always saw this on my shelf. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to play this, because like you said, it has a single player mode. I knew I wanted that to be put in the game, because Shikata didn't want to put that in the game, but it's just unplayable. I tried it while we were having our play session, as you can't play it by yourself. Yeah, you just can't. You're really switching between characters, and we're gonna talk about some of the stuff we did, but it's unplayable by yourself. So it's always sat on my shelf, and then the announcement came that they were gonna shut off the online for the 3DS, and I think I don't even know who suggested it, but that's when we came together. We're like, we need to play this. And I think I was the only one who had it. I think both of you guys had to buy it.
I did have the game. I had the game.
Oh, you had it already?
I didn't have the game, and I was like, okay, if I'm gonna get this, it needs to be cheap.
It was. I'm actually sad it was cheap, but again,
it was.
You need three people to play this, and I think I've heard you can't play it online with strangers. But you can't play this online with strangers, man.
So well, for me, I did pick up this game day one, and I played it for about 1 minute, and and that's because well, admittedly, it's not really because I didn't like the game or I wasn't caring about it. It's really just because I was 16 and I played every game, and I played for 30 minutes. It was just came out during that time where that's just how I played games, admittedly. And yeah, with the 3DS shutting down and all that, we did, talk about that. And admittedly, the biggest thing is, which by the way, you can't play with randoms, and I did play with randoms for a few levels. But the weirdest thing, and we found this out, was it's also region locked, and that is so bizarre. So
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And that's why I have a second copy. That's why I have a second copy.
That's why I
because,
remember you had to buy it.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, because of that, yeah, I have my 3DS is a UK a capture card, which is super helpful. That the fact that cool because of that I was able to buy an actual UK, or I guess how would you call it? It wouldn't be a UK European copy, and yeah, and it worked. So we ended up being able to play together, which was funny because yeah, now I have two of these, and minor little thing. Remember, you'll hear this in a vlog one day, but this North American copy is thinner, very little thinner than the UK the European copy. I don't know if you guys remember that we talked about
We
that.
talked about it, yeah.
That's so odd. I don't understand that. I
It is
guess
super odd.
because the 3DS is region locked, I don't have any US 3DS games compared to my DS, where I got loads of US games because it's not region locked. But yeah, I guess the US 3DS cases are slightly
Weird.
thinner. Super
Which
weird.
I actually really liked. Like it, I think they're probably the Europeans probably like the size of maybe the regular DS. While this is just a little bit
No,
thinner.
it's definitely
than
thinner
American.
than that, though.
No, they're much thinner than
Yeah.
our DS games. Our DS games are much chunkier than
Oh,
your.
that's right. That's right. No,
Than
so
your,
yeah, it's
than the
super
US
strange.
ones,
It's
yeah,
super
yeah.
strange. Super strange. But yeah, so that was like the launch, and then we finally said we gotta rush and play this game, and we did end up playing it. And as with all games, we start off with the story, and you get a little introduction into the game, and I quite enjoyed the goofiness of the story, the over the top. And it's funny because while kind of doing a little bit of research, I was looking up like rankings of Zelda games, and so many people put this at the very, very bottom. And I feel so bad for this game because I feel like we had a very different experience from a lot of other people. And I think it's just for the simple fact that, yeah, if you don't have a group of three people, you won't have that really fun experience that I think we had. And
I will tell you right now, I've been trying to put together a top tier Zelda list for myself, and after playing this one, this game was at the bottom because I hadn't played it. But now it's actually gone above some other Zelda games.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I heard that people rated it down specifically for that. Oh, the single player thing sucks. It was like, of course it sucks. It's meant for three people.
It's a multiplayer game.
Yeah, you need. I mean, even with strangers, you're not getting the full experience if you're not playing it.
What I will
friends.
say just quickly is because I did play multiplayer and single player Four Swords and Four Swords Adventures back in the day. Single player wise, those do play more better as single player games than this game.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
because
sure.
here you're like three individual links.
Yeah,
or Swords is more like
Well, Four
Pikmin,
Swords-
like a clutter.
Yeah, you do have 4 links, but if you're playing single player, they all automatically follow you. Where this game, you have to control them all individually.
Yeah, that is pretty damn ridiculous, and that's what stopped me from playing single player in terms of this. But
I definitely rank this way above a bunch, and man, people are gonna get mad, but I rank this even above Skyward Sword, man.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Oh, all right, just get rid of this.
Hey,
guy.
we're
Get rid of
talking
this
about
little-
rankings. I'm actually putting together my own ranking video too, still and everything. And
Nice.
like, I know a lot of people hate like the handheld Zeldas and stuff, but arguably, if you can play this game properly, there's no way you can hate on this the way people hate on like Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. It is just that good.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, like my amount of Zelda games I've finished, it's tough to put it above a lot of them because in the end of the day, I think only finished like 7 of them now at this point, or maybe it's 6, something like that, compared to what there's like 18 of them or 17, 18 of them. So so it's still a huge chunk of ones from ranging from different platforms. But in terms of like getting back to like this story, did you guys like that over the top nature, the more goofy nature of it? I think a lot of people so I see a lot of people like, oh, the story's whatever, but it's not like the main appeal of the game, but it connects with the gameplay of the game.
I don't want to put words into a Legend of Retro's mouth, but me and Retro were there at the start of of Zelda in terms of when it was still growing and all the stories being dynamic and also unique and one-offs almost in unto themselves. One of my favorite games ever is Link's Awakening, and that doesn't have Zelda in it, doesn't have Hyrule in it, it doesn't have Ganon, in there, and it's a very different Zelda story. I am 100% all for Legend of Zelda Heroes series being like Mario, where you do have these random adventures that add link to some grand orchestral, over the top theme of a storyline that transcends history. It's okay for Link to have odd little adventures, in wherever he is, in a different kingdom in Hyrule, that have no meaning other than just to have fun or have a little bit of silliness. And I'm not saying that the story in this game, was incredible or anything like that. But for the context of what it was doing, it's
fun.
We just laughed. It's fun as hell,
silly,
it's stupid, and fun. Yeah, go ahead.
To build off that, my favorite Zelda also doesn't have Zelda and also is not in Hyrule. Like, I have Majora's Mask is my favorite one, and that is, I would consider it as the darkest story of most Zeldas. And I agree with Cloak that I think the great thing about Zelda is that every game is just completely different. If you take some elements and you make a completely different story of it. That's why I hate the whole timeline discussion. Every Zelda is just completely random. And I actually like the fact that it's super silly. And I think it works because, again, if you're playing with 3 friends, you're playing a co-op game, it's going to be crazy shenanigans, you're going to be laughing and yelling at each other. So having like a super silly story, like the Princess Styla's clothes has been stolen, it's like the way she looks in the jumpsuit and everything, it just works. It adds to the overall fun dynamic, I feel, of the gameplay. If you make it super serious, then you're gonna keep going from the crazy gameplay, like laughing, to like this super dark story. It just wouldn't work.
But Zelda's always been like that, with these crazy characters, these crazy NPCs. If you actually went to Hyrule and spoke to some of these people, you'd be horrified, because most of them are absolutely mental. You're like, what's going on? What are these people doing? And then, we all laughed, when we saw some of the silly costumes or some of the semi-naked, princesses and stuff. It's just absolutely stupid and hilarious. Really good.
And I always applauded when in Zelda, that's one of the main things I hated about Twilight Princess. I always applauded when I use a different villain than Ganon all the time. Because, by now there's a great variety. Like I said, Majora's Mask has the Skull Kid. Twilight Princess had Zomp, and I hated that they added Ganon just right at the end. It didn't need it.
As we're talking multiplayer Zeldas, let's not forget about Vati as well.
Yeah, exactly. And like Oracle of Ages and Seasons, like, if you combine them, Ganon is in there, but separately they have their own villains. So I like it that this game just took that clothing aspect and had it this crazy, the lady with all her, like, the way she talks, like how you're dressed like peasants and stuff. It's just super funny.
And it also adds that we would have some voice actors ourselves. We would play parts in it. It just adds to the humor of it. And admittedly, that is something that you can only get when you do play with a group of people.
It's not even that. It's a group of friends as well. Just understanding the game, understanding each other, and just enjoying what we were essentially doing as role playing. And just enjoying that fantasy element of playing a great multiplayer game.
Because it's also like we all have our own individual personalities, and I like it how when we're playing the game, that just plays a part. Like, man, I kept killing you guys over freaking rupees all the time, and you got both of us yelling at the robot because he refuses to wear other clothes and stuff to help us out and everything. Like, Jason's all like panicking about the strategies and stuff.
That's one of the things that a big part of this game is the whole clothing aspect, and being able to change that. And admittedly, for me, I'm a very default guy, and so I don't think I changed it once.
No,
I ended up buying at the very, very end when we're already done with the game. I bought a few things. I never obviously used them, but that's
a story, though, isn't it? That's us playing the story in some respect. So you found the clothes that you loved.
Yeah,
you wanted to wear those clothes, but as we know, the outfits had powers and played a part of that story. As a
Which we helped to improve our teamwork, and Robert refused to. So I'm always like with my triple arrows, and he got clogged in with his boomerang to help us across ravines, and Robert's just standing in the corner while we're dying.
Yeah, that's because a lot of costumes actually do give like benefits towards it, and these two guys would actually make sense and strategically try to make a something for the level. While I was like, I'm just gonna be my my regular Link, man.
Because it helped also, because like what you said, the costumes offer different abilities. So once you had like a hook shot and a bow and a gust jar, I'm like, dude, I have a costume with triple shot unlock. I saved up for it, so I'll take the bow. It grants me like abilities to like help us and stuff.
Yeah, and once we sank into those roles, we almost became those avatars of those costumes. And I think as the story progressed and as the levels progressed, as we slowly began to move through it, we started realizing our strengths and weaknesses, and the costumes played a part of that. And we all sometimes we would just click. We just almost, because that one person had been using a gust jar for a while, or that one person had been using a boomerang, or or the bow, and stuff like that, hook shot or whatever. We just started to gel as a team, and just grow as a team as we move through the game. That's what I loved about it. It never felt static, even if we did stick with the same costumes. We did continue to just improve and grow, and it's just too much fun with all the silliness of the characters and the stories just moving us along. Going back to the town and speaking to some of the NPCs or getting new costumes and stuff like that, and it's just really good fun. Really good fun.
Yeah, and then the way the game is actually set up, it is segmented into separate levels, which is separate worlds, and they have like 4 in each. And I actually, I like that setup. Obviously, very different from a lot of other Zelda games, which is all interconnected, one world. But especially for a multiplayer title and how you have it, it's all chunk-sized levels, which almost like every single level is almost like their own dungeon in a way. While they had their own dungeons, but it was cool that every level just felt like its own, and they're all very unique, while based on ideas that have been done before, like fire and stuff. But the puzzles themselves were really intricate. And I was super surprised at how well designed a lot of these levels were, that we were like, damn, these are like some impressive ass puzzles for some of the series, some of the best.
I think what surprised me the most is that there's so much familiarity in terms of the enemies and the weapons across the whole Zelda universe. What surprised me the most in terms of the puzzles, because Zelda's always had great puzzles, was the fact that how they understood that you were having all these costumes that could have all these effects with all these items, and somehow no matter what costume you chose, you'd pick up an item in there as well, and they all just worked in the level. Multiple items working in unison with multiple puzzles. It was some phenomenally clever stuff in there that every time we just went, oh my god, that's amazing, as soon as we solved something. It's almost like playing Portal. You play Portal, Rob, I believe. I don't know if you have Legend as well.
Yeah.
But it's like those Portal moments where you just click and just go, oh, okay, wait there, let me try this. And then it just works beautifully. You're just like, wow, this is Zelda.
That's what I love, because that's how I felt, where you're thinking it's Zelda. So if there's a puzzle you can't figure out, you're like, it's Zelda, let's see if this works. And then it just works. Like what you said earlier, the fact that the items work in unison for the puzzles. Like I specifically remember the puzzle, like a puzzle we had where we're in the ice level, and we had to get these switches. We had to like light some torches in the distance. That's what it was. And it's like what you say, where you get used to this dynamic we're having with the affinity we have with certain items. I remember like I had like the fire glove, and you can throw a ball. But then I learned that you could hold the button to create like a ball and just hold it. And then I was like, why don't you just try and like throw your boomerang through it? You throw your boomerang through my fire to create a fire boomerang to light some torches. It's nuts. Like, and the whole game, I feel, was truly designed that the puzzles became more intricate, designed for 3 people to do specific things in order to solve them. Like, that's what makes it so good.
Yeah, but it was giving us stuff that we'd never done with some Zelda items before in unison. So you mentioned some of those combinations like that. We'd have scenarios where it's like also like implement stuff from Super Mario World, where I was hookshot onto a climbing grate, and then I could hit that grate, so I'd punch it, and I'd flip onto the other side, and then Rob would use his gust jar, which we worked out then to actually blow me off it onto the ledge behind it. It's just these combinations of things. I think that's what was making us smile every time, because we've been familiar with so many of these Zelda items. Maybe someone new for Rob as well. So even then, just that new experience with him, he's going, whoa, that's awesome. Okay, I just the ideas that you could do with this in maybe other Zelda games, but just even in this game,
because it's like the game doesn't tell you can do these things.
It's
like that's what we're talking about. You're like, there's a grate. You're like, I can hook onto it, and you're hooking on the grate, and you're like, well, now what? You drop, you die. It's like, well, what if we use the gust jar? And then it just works. Like you figured everything out. I think that's a great thing about that 3-player aspect, where you're forced really to communicate together to make those puzzles work.
But you felt that level of Nintendo giving you that level of freedom as well to experiment and work within. There's always boundaries, but I think sometimes you'll be sharing our Nintendo knowledge, where I'd say something like, I don't think that's a Nintendo design type of thing for us to try and get up there and style across this way and stuff.
With the color-coded platforms.
But
that was an amazing part.
What I'm saying
we're
is,
like
you would still work out ways to do it. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I would bring that up. That shit is just so funny. Like, it's one of the funniest moments in the whole game, where it's something so basic that we thought,
overthinking it.
What are we doing? You do these moves where literally you just have to pick up somebody, and all you have to do is just stand next to him, press A, and pick someone up. But we made it such a big thing, and we were on it for, I feel like it had to be at least almost a half an hour.
I think it was about 20 minutes where we were like,
around 20 minutes. And
you have like 3 color-coded. That's another thing with the multiplayer. You have like 3 color-coded platforms, so only like a blue link can stand on the blue platform, a green link on the green platform, and we had to go all the way to the other side to go on top of this mountain, and like we just couldn't figure out how to get everybody on the 3rd platform. Like, how does it work? We're like throwing each other over there, we're dying and stuff, and then like I said, it took us like half an hour. And like Jason, he went like what you said. He's like, Nintendo wouldn't design this. This makes no sense. We're like, we're not looking at stuff. Why can't we figure this out? Like, I don't even remember who had the idea, but then we're like, that's what I thought. You're like, what if you just stand on the edge and lift me up? It's just so stupid.
Like, even when I said it, I went. It was one of those click moments where you're just like, oh my god, we have so overthought this, the levels of. Because that's what I say. I was like, Nintendo wouldn't be making us go through these crazy extremes and these tightrope type of trying to stand on the precipice of something. I just like, no, they just know how they do things. And then when I clicked, and then we just all clicked, it was like I said, it's like that portal moment of both, oh my god, that makes so much sense, and also us being donuts for 20 minutes. I
remember we tried to like throw, like somebody was trying to throw somebody in a boomerang to catch a mid-air. All that crazy stuff.
But
it's impressive though, because especially given the fact that it's the 3 layers. It literally, this whole game is set on 3 layers, having a separate. Essentially, you have enemy like 3 high, so you'll be picking up each other, so you could attack an enemy 3 layers higher, do a puzzle 3 layers higher, 2 layers high. And it's I really think about it, it's impressive to think that to design a game where it's a 2D over the top game in that style, but at the same time it's 3D in perspective, where you literally have.
But maybe this is where we could talk about the greatness of not just the 3DS, but the 3D of the 3DS, and how Nintendo implemented that so well in their games. You fell to a Super Mario 3D Land, where the depth perception on that made the platforming great fun to work out. And obviously we know this game was based off the Link Between Worlds engine, everything, and how that worked with depth and height and stuff. But for us to work together as 3 people on 3 levels of 3D,
crazy,
and to do that puzzle wise as well. It's just mixing all these items. One person in the middle will have a hook shot, the other person on top will have a bow. It's like, right, you hit that first, and I hit this up here, and then you walk over here and use your sword or whatever. The
3D effect is what you mentioned is true. I feel like a lot of games have really good 3D effect, but there's only a small amount of games like Triforce Heroes like 3D Land, where if you don't use the 3D, you can't play the game. I remember, for example, in 3D Land, there's puzzles where you see all these blocks, and you have to hit one, but you can't, and unless you turn on the 3D effect, and then one of the blocks is actually being pulled out of it. And it's the same here, where you're trying to hit enemies, but you're not hitting them because you can't see what layer they're on if you don't have the 3D effect. And I remember Robert in the beginning was trying to play on the TV, and he just couldn't. He couldn't hit these enemies. He's like, he can't see them. He's like, yeah, let me just play on the 3D effect so that you know where to hit the switches and the enemies.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the majority of the time I did play on TV, which was nice because it was cool to have this screen blown up on a 70-inch. I know a lot of people be like, "Come on, man," but this should look cool. But yes, the 3D in general, I wasn't a huge user of the 3D on the 3DS, but this was one that generally, one, looked gorgeous. Like, generally, it's a very good looking game. And two, the it actually worked in a gameplay sense, which not a lot of, I feel like, 3DS did that. Like you said, 3D Land. Yeah. This is one that they were genuine. Like, you could see your stack getting closer to you in terms of the screen, because it is getting closer with the 3D effect, and it helped in terms of enemies, it helped in terms of puzzles, and that really blew my mind.
Yeah, Nintendo were never going to make the game to be played in 3D as compulsory. But what I was trying to say is that the way they actually did implement the 3D greatly enhanced the experience of the game in those moments where you felt like, okay, I feel like I need to use 3D now, on this AAA, or just see some of the geometry and stuff and just go, wow, okay, this looks incredible. But, it's just like the 3D enhancements of the 3DS, as a even though it's a core function of the console, when it's used well, just like with any core feature of a system, whether it's HD rumble or just rumble in general, motion controls and stuff, when these things are implemented to assist you, it just takes games to the next level. How I felt when I play Super Mario Odyssey, just using the two Joy-Cons to actually throw my hat, and stuff. Some people didn't like doing it, but for me, it just made the control of that hat just so much, better. You didn't need to do it, but for me, it enhanced it. And I think Nintendo, when they do get that right, when they do implement those features with their consoles, it just elevates games to the next level. And then we have plenty of moments like that, I feel, with the 3D in this game.
Absolutely. And you guys have like maybe a favorite area you guys have? Admittedly, I know for me, I was saying earlier, like, I don't think I have quite like a genuine favorite area, but I know Retro was saying he might actually have one.
I have two favorite areas specifically for different reasons. One, the ruins. Like, look, I know I dragged you guys into those ruins, and it was the hardest level by far in the game. I think it's the only level we spent multiple play sessions on trying to beat that world. But I just liked how it felt like you were inside of this dark, gothic-y castle with the windows and the lighting and stuff.
Surprise, yeah.
Yeah, it's just stuff I like, but it just visually looked amazing. But gameplay-wise, and I don't even remember specifically why, but gameplay-wise, I remember the desert is my favorite because I think some of the puzzles were my favorite in the desert. They had like crazy, intricate triple teamwork puzzles in the desert that just stuck with me. So those are definitely some of my favorites.
The desert drove me crazy. The fact that you just stand on a quicksand for 1 second and you're gone. The amount of like, don't stand still. You just die every 2 seconds. But
yeah, that's because unfortunately, your hearts are all combined together. So,
yeah, that's one thing we need to mention. We are literally a joined unit in terms of health. So
which is nuts. But literally if we all lose 3 hearts, we all lose 3 hearts, which is actually insane, and that's what made it a lot tougher, but also very funny at moments.
Oh, of course, it could be one person killing the entire team.
Absolutely.
Just saying, what the hell are you doing? But I think for me, in terms of favorite levels, I did love the ruins. The ruins is quite. What I will say about all the worlds that we went to, they had an overall theme, so to speak, but each level within them could be quite different and unique. You could be in inside in the ruins. You could be in a pitch black place. It's just all you need all the lights and everything to light up. But then you'd be out in brightness within a nice temple area, trying to sort things, or all a graveyard or something like that, like just around that, in terms of diversity. But very early on, I did like I think it was a riverside level. And we got the water and stuff, and that's where we first started getting swimming in the water. The swimming
I was
felt
like, we can
great in this
swim.
game. We're like, we can swim. What's going on? You're thinking you're gonna drown, as soon as you step to the water, but no, how you like dart and swim and stuff, and fly out to the water. That was super awesome. And some of the using the water rod to lift each other up and work on puzzles with that as well.
Cool.
Was super cool.
That's another thing where we're like trying to how do we get up here? Why can't we get up here? And then we're like, shit, I gotta plug in my computer, sorry. And then we're like, oh wait, you can use the water rod on land as well. Like what the hell? And then all of a sudden we got this answer.
Just mental things like that. And a slight spoiler towards the end, but I think if you're tuning in with this, I hope you already enjoyed the game. But
wait, talk about the final boss also.
Not the final boss, but I will say just the Sky Realm as well.
That was very cool.
Just
I love the
wind blowing and the jumping that we had to do, and the falling straight down to other platforms. That was super low down, like getting in elevators and stuff. All of us trying to get on these elevators at the same time while abandoning one person below and stuff. Really good.
I do like that. Yeah, I like the especially having the grabbing the cuckoos. How do I say it again? I forget. The cuckoos. Essentially, the chuckles. Grabbing them and flying around, like that was actually very, very cool.
Yeah, super
I like
fun.
that a lot.
Yeah,
and I feel like there really is a wide variety of things that you do in this game. Wide variety of objectives.
That's what I like. Yeah, like every world brings its own unique gimmicks. Like you guys mentioned, the quicksand. You have like the cuckoos. You have the swimming and the ice level. You have breaking ice and that kind of stuff. Like every level had its own unique thing that just changed the game completely.
Even when I mentioned like the river realm and stuff, riverside, area. Even though we've had water-themed levels before and stuff, in Zelda games, or water-themed areas, so to speak, I still found this game very unique to other Zeldas and how these areas were built. It's not every day that you are on Raging Rapids. I mentioned Link's Awakening and stuff like that, but that's got a small rapids part, and then when you go on the raft. And I took influence from loads of Zelda games, but also really expanded on those, including all the great items and puzzles that we were working with. So they felt crazy unique. It felt like a really original Zelda game that took inspiration from past Zeldas, but was still completely unique by itself in terms of its levels, how they looked and felt. And I think we all felt that sometimes when we get to a new area, we're like, "Whoa, look at this! I'm going to turn my 3D on a second, wow!" And just have a look. So.
Like the balancing platforms. We had to
being on a seesaw and stuff. Yeah,
and that requires a lot of cooperation. There's the whole section where you have to. Someone has to balance on one side, and someone's balancing on another side. It's a whole giant platform, so the third person could walk around and actually move around. And like we require like, hey, you stay there while I stay there. Then Retro will move around here, and it was like, how in the world do you do it without just
exactly? Because it's not just like two people stand still, one person moves around, but you got to delegate the people with who has what weapon. Because it's like, okay, he has the hook shot, so he can come last because he can grab us with the hook shot. So the boomerang has to go like first, so he can grab the second player. Like that's what I mean. Like everything just wove together.
Yeah, and it was very intricate in terms of working together, and that's why it really just it's one of my favorite co-op experiences ever. I mean, it's literally you got It Takes Two, you got this, you got like Portal 2 as like some of my favorite like co-op experiences that I feel like you could have.
Yeah, go ahead, say.
No, you can go. You were saying?
I was just about to say, you can mention these games. It Takes Two, your Portal, and Triforce Heroes. And people look at them. People look at Portal and then put this next to it and go, "What are you talking about?" Get the hell out of here. Your Portal 2 and Portal 1 are literally goated games, and they look incredible, amazingly sophisticated and stuff. But you strip back it all, and it doesn't take and this game, Triforce Heroes, underneath its 3DS look, is an incredibly intelligently put together and well designed video game, as you pointed out, multiplayer wise. That even I say even I, as if I've played everything in the world. I mean, I've played a lot of multiplayer games. I've played a lot of games in my time, and it was a completely great and original experience for me. I played Full Souls Adventure multiplayer, but even that felt different to this co-op wise. And I will say, this game, needed voice chat.
Yeah.
I used to play Phantasy Star online on the Sega Dreamcast. I played that for years with friends. Yeah. And that game had emojis, like you have in this game, over here, or smiley faces and stuff like that. But what you could also do on there is type using the keyboard, so you could actually talk to each other typing. This game doesn't have that. It literally only has emojis. So to try and cooperate and also be in the same mindset, to have those aha moments, how would you display that aha moment just through a few overhears and stuff?
Yeah.
If this game had any major weakness, it would be
lack of communication.
Lack of communication
That's why I say you should be with friends, though, because you need that voice chat element. Because if you don't have that, there's some of these riddles you're not gonna get it. Like you said, you just have an overhear or an item or whatever. But there's specific moments where you have to, like what we said earlier, this person with this weapon needs to go there. You can't just say that with a few emojis.
Yeah, and sometimes a chaos on the level as well, with enemies swarming you. You try to take care, and you need to quickly do something while enemies are still continuously coming. How do you convey that? You keep saying over here. That person's going to come over to you, but you don't need them there. You need them to go, somewhere else
over there.
whilst you're here. You can't really point at anything. So if we did ever talk negatives, I think it's just one of the features where this needed in-game voice chat on the 3DS for this particular game. Just have it for this game, a voice thing whilst you're with friends. But we got around that with technology today. So I'm gonna. It's not a massive negative. We all got mobile phones, and that's how we worked with it.
That's definitely how you get the best co-op multiplayer games. Is what you guys mentioned before. You have drawing a blank. No, because I was gonna say A Way Out, but I meant because that counts too. A Way Out, It Takes Two, Portal. Like these games, they really only work just like Triforce Heroes if you have friends and you're doing a voice chat, because they're so intricate, and that I feel makes these puzzle games better than most others, because every person has it's like true asymmetric gameplay. You're all doing different things that come together to solve specific riddles.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know if you'll be able to show this on the screen, but we had this one part which I can see on your screen where we were fighting knights swinging around their balls and chains, and throwing bombs at us whilst we're on a spinning platform, whilst we're being attacked by birds. And there's bombs at different levels where you might need to get someone to go on your shoulders to grab that particular bomb with a boomerang, whilst hitting that button over there, and also catching that bomb and throwing it back just in time, or having someone shoot the bomb and stuff. It's just
and it doesn't help when you have one person who has a certain strategy while the other two want to do something completely different. It doesn't work.
And this was insanely hard.
You guys aren't listening to me all the time and stuff.
Well, it's tough because but it's so cleverly designed, because it is, especially what we're talking about. It is three knights that you're versing, all in different ways that essentially working with your was it wind gust jar or the hook shot. Like it's meant for one person doing that because you have that item, and the other person doing that because you have that item. And oh, by the way, you got to stack this guy.
We died a number of times on some of these challenges. That's one thing we should highlight. This was not an easy game.
It's challenging.
Brutal.
It's very challenging.
This was one of the hardest Zeldas I think I ever played. It just.
I would agree.
Even when we were on form and on co-op, we sometimes we'd be getting beat left, right, and center. Just trying to handle the situation, and man, we died a lot of times. Some hilarious deaths.
Because sometimes you have a bunch of enemies, but it's everything we just said is you're doing this whole battle together, but it's on 3 layers. Some enemies are color coded. Some weapons are needed for certain situations. So you're making like a totem, but you have to decide that, oh wait, the link with the bow and arrow has to go on top here, so you have the totem
Yeah, and
goes on
try
top.
that the mental
Yeah.
gymnastics.
It's
Yeah.
it's like near the end it gets brutal. So you're doing all this with all these bombs coming in and these birds and the rotating platforms, for example, and it's like
Yeah.
it
I'll
doesn't
be.
stop.
We'd all be getting confused. Like, no, I need to pick you up first, and then you pick me up, and then somehow we pick the wrong person up, and then they're me on top, and it's just like, no. We'd have to do that.
Because then we have, for example,
amidst some
that
tense boss fights. Oh,
Uh-huh.
because then you have like yeah, this person has to go on top, but Robert can't go at the bottom because he can't walk over a tight rope. So Jace has to be at the bottom. You know?
Which, yes, that's you do have to kind of take that into account. Certain people's
our strengths and weaknesses. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's very funny when you think about that. But yeah, it is super cool that you know you have those very intense moments because you have these chaotic events happening while you're also trying to manage each other. It is really impressive, and they just did such a fantastic job at that. And yeah, I think that's a big reason why people maybe rank this a lot lower is because they didn't have that experience. They either played online or they only played solo, and so you don't have that experience that is really what it's meant to be. And unfortunately, I don't even think this has like download play where you could kind of play with other people, like how like
I
like
think
Mario
it
Kart
does.
DS.
You can do download play together because that's the only way you can get like those friend tokens for specific outfits.
Well, no, but I think you still need the card. Is what I'm saying. You know how like you have to own 3
Oh,
copies
yeah,
of the
yeah,
game.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like you do still need 3 copies of the game and 3 3DSs. So it is a pricey way to experience that great game.
That is true.
But and that's kind of the
Not
unfortunate
as
thing.
pricey as needed 4 Game Boy Advances and the GameCube
Yeah.
game to play her 4 Souls Adventures.
Yes, yeah.
That was brutal.
but that's talk about bosses. I think we're all in agreement that there were some super cool bosses, like super
incredible.
really inventive bosses that we were like, damn, like this is some awesome design, so super unique design that probably most people have never seen in their life, and it's just so cool.
You'd probably think, looking at this game, that they would just rehash a lot of previous Zelda bosses, but there were a lot of unique bosses in this game that gave us some insane challenges where we were sometimes pulling our hair out and also determined to get it done.
Because the bosses are like relentless. They don't stop. They go fast. They attack all the time. They have different patterns, and they just take everything that you've learned in a level like to the max. You still have to go. That's why these bosses are so great, because almost every single boss is designed for 3 people to beat them. Like there's this boss with that floated around. So you have somebody has to like get some heart because we're fucking dying, and then this other person has to like throw somebody on the platform, and the Gusher guy has to blow him up so he can like attack at the top and stuff. Like, or you had bosses that were like color coded things on the side, so only the green link can attack him at that moment and stuff. And like every boss fight has its own unique way of using all 3 players. It was nuts.
Yeah, that boss you're talking about was Prismantus, and it was like a what are they called? Those kids have these days, and like spin them on their hands.
The fidget spinner.
Like a fidget spinner.
It was literally,
yes,
it was a fidget spinner, a triangle, a 3-point fidget spinner. It had red, blue, and green on the thing. So when it was spinning fast, you had to try and attack your color as it was darting towards you and bouncing across the screen. My God. And sometimes it'd be like you, Rob. You'd be the last one. It'd be like, "Come on, you just gotta hit it. What are you doing? You gotta kill.
Yeah.
Run away! What are you doing? Oh my God!" It's like, and I sometimes I did get like levels of frustration because the levels were hard, the bosses were hard, and if we all died and had to start that level again,
that was bull.
That was brutal.
That was like it could be sometimes a 20-minute rerun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of the whole level. And and the boss and stuff is super challenging. In part, I like that because it forced us to be at our peak, and at the same time really learn these bosses as we've done it. And the other time, if we hit those roadblocks and those bosses, really kicked our butts. Yeah, go
Right.
ahead. No, go sorry.
I was just gonna say it's like the bosses and the mini bosses. I feel like one of my favorite designed bosses. I think it was the final boss. I don't know, of the Ice World. I think it was the turtle snake thing. I think it was basically the boss from A Link to the Past. It was like this crystal snake thing that came out of
Ah, that was
all these holes and stuff.
Blizzagia.
Yeah, that one just looked absolutely amazing. And then you had like, for example, mini bosses where you're fighting like 8 re-deads. Like
Oh yeah.
that was
Oh,
one of the most
gosh.
brutal fights, man. I still have nightmares of that stuff.
It was
like
brutal, but then we worked together and we're like, all right, let's form a triangle ourselves and just try to take. Or well, actually, that was not. Was that the Redead? No, because the Redeads, yeah, they would be bouncing around.
Yeah. But,
Oh yeah, because
But
we would like
the game would really hype you up for this. So I think you had like the first boss of the Forest Temple was like that Mogani or something like that. I can't remember the name of the creature.
Hey, you're good with
one that
remembering
looked
these
kind of like
boss
Death
names.
Dog, you mean? Yeah.
It was like it had the eyeball in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get to the point where you'd have to climb up and then throw someone on there once the eyeball explodes. And as that throw that person up there, you're like, go. And that person smacking the eyeball, but like the music would elevate with it as well. It's like and you just like smack away, like, yeah, we got this, let's go. Okay, second phase. But it's like really just like we were egging each other on as well. And I just loved that level of communication. It felt like being a local on the N64 again, playing Mario Party or something. Just all having a blast, but working together in a somewhat co-op fashion for certain things, and it's just too much fun.
Because the bosses put all that basically in overdrive. Because when you're doing a puzzle, it's like, okay, you go there, let's do that. Now if your boss is like, no, he's coming, go, what are you doing? Go the other way, what are you doing? And you're like fighting each other and stuff to make it work. Man, that was some of the greatest moments.
And some of those bosses would be relentless as well. They would just like targets like just one person and chase that one person. You had to like run behind them. Try to chase behind the boss while it's chasing the other person. The other person's just like, oh my god, running for their lives. And you're like, no, just run in a circle.
And that person that's running has to literally keep running, because if you stay still for even a split second, you're getting hit. And again, especially in a game where you have the combined health, every single heart was so damn important, especially in the bosses, because those bosses were tough. And the developers knew it, because they would have essentially like a full health of hearts around that you could collect.
Health management, and we really had to focus on that as well. Really had to focus on it.
And this is literally a game where legitimately, you could not be careless. Like you could not really make mistakes in this game, almost at all. Like,
and it's like,
crazy.
and everybody has to do something. Because like the boss you mentioned, where one of them is being chased, and he has a tail you have to hit. That's on a 2-story high, so the other two all still have to work together. And you're like, we need hearts as well. So you're attacking him. The second like you have a break, you run like to throw the other link on the platform to gather some hearts and stuff. It's like you're non-stop busy.
I think that might have been like a second phase of a boss. I can't remember which. Which
it's
boss
on the ladies' lair specifically. It
started
started
as
as
a
a
table,
table,
wasn't it?
like this table again. It was kind of like the first boss, and then it became that one, and then it became the lady.
Right, yeah, that's right. I remember. Yeah, that was a tough boss. But
speaking of bosses, I think you just brought up is that the final boss you're talking about?
No, it is the final boss, but you find it like, I think that was in the ruins. That was the boss in the ruins. That was like a 3-layered lady. I think the last version of it was like the lady, I think, or something.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I think it would be a good time, just in case you don't want to know. But yeah, I do want to talk about the spoilers. Talk about the actual final boss, because that was like a really brutal final boss, and that literally worked together in terms of literally all the layers, and literally you kind of the same thing. How you have like a stack, but it goes to overdrive in terms of relentlessness, and that had multiple phases, if I remember correctly.
And totem management as well, where we start talking about where it took all aspects of the game that you had learned up to now, gave us a gauntlet to start with, before we got to her. The whole running up the stairs, and you had these these areas you had to fight in, which destroyed us half of the time. But getting to her, classic Zelda, there you go, perfect. Hit him back and stuff. But the totem management that you had to do in the time limit it gave you to hit her weak points, where we would say, right, Rob, we need you on the bottom, then I need you to pick me up, and then Retro needs to be on top.
And the bam, it's already too late. It's the next phase already. It's like you gotta do it the next round, man.
Oh my god! And the speed of it all.
It was very fast. Yeah.
It was easily the hardest boss of the game, and I think we struggled the most with that one.
Yeah, because like we said, it used everything. She had color-coded attacks that only a certain link could hit back. Color-coded platforms that you had a totem on top of to be able to hit her. That was like ridiculous. And then the first phases, you throw each other over the layer to just smack her, and then she started doing the following thing and stuff. Like, dude, it just was. You couldn't breathe for a second. It was ridiculous.
But we were talking about our role playing and stuff. Doing the voices. The whole lead up to that. I remember us, laughing and doing it all first, doing all the text and stuff. Speaking in a, in like a. All making up voices for her.
Yeah.
After about like the fourth death, it's just like, let's just
get into it.
Let's just get into it, because we were just like, this is killing us, absolutely killing us.
Yeah, because you gotta understand that not only were we doing this final boss over again, but we were doing the whole lead up, which that whole final level
really hard.
All combat. It's a whole combat section going through different areas, and that was brutal. That was a brutal level. Yeah. But it is a very great level, especially when you actually finish it. You're like, oh my god, the relief felt amazing. But yeah, I thought it was one of the coolest final bosses in a while that I think about it. Especially in terms of Zelda. Like I don't have too much, not too tough a lot of these bosses, but this one was one of the toughest I've fought in the Zelda series so far, and just the communication needed for that also is just insane. And to stack to the umbrellas, and
you had no time for that final hit that you have to do, where she has the platforms around her. You first had to locate the height of the platform, the one that you could get to. Then we were all trying to avoid her attack, so they kept trying to split us up. So you had to find a moment to get together, stack up, see who is at the bottom, so you can go on top of the platform to make sure you're at the right height to hit her. It's just nuts. It's ridiculous. And you only had literally like a few seconds to do all that at the same time. Like, we just didn't have time most of it.
Really hard on it. Yeah, I think if my kids played this, I don't know if they'd be able to do it. Honestly, don't. It took all our Zelda experience, to and also just playing that game from start to finish. This boss really was everything and more in terms of game mechanics. And it's I think a lot of Zelda bosses incorporate an item in order to defeat them, or a gimmick within a dungeon. But if you actually think about this boss, this was us having to think on so many levels, height for our totem, or
crazy,
color coding, dodging attacks, getting the timings right as a group. It's just
my favorite thing about the final boss. It's very simple. My favorite thing is that you had to be a 3-stack totem for that final hit. Like, it's like, look, you're a totem, you're a team, you'll beat this as a team. So you had to be like a 3-stack totem, make that work. I don't know why that just hit me, man, and hard. Like, all of us beating it together, really.
I remember you mentioning that, and I didn't even click that we would do it, because I think just in the whole craziness of that final battle, we just kill her, please, just kill her. I wasn't even thinking
about on the platform.
What are you doing now? We're gonna die. We don't want to live.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you guys hit it perfectly. That how, like, literally just you got split-second reaction times for all this type of stuff, and the mental gymnastics you have to see, because these umbrellas sprout so quickly. It's like red. Oh, red. Okay, go. Come on. You have to climb up and die. It was so quick, and especially that final phase, these umbrellas leave the platform so quickly. If you're not on it within, again, literally 2-3 seconds, like, you have to wait till the next turn, and the next turn is after a shower of lightning bolts and everything. You're like, damn. It is brutal, but it is so satisfying, and it makes sense. And that's how well designed this game is, that they made the final hit have it be, like you said, 3 people instead of just one person. Like, oh, get him, and then
nobody's at the sidelines. You're winning together, man.
Exactly.
Incredible. Absolutely.
Crazy, very, very incredible. And in terms of the ending, you get an awesome, some funny things towards the end. Very cool, little cutscene that happens that I
That
really
is
like.
my one negative. Because, like, I
The,
didn't think the voice chat necessarily. My one negative is you beat it as a team, but then you individually have to go see the
okay,
ending.
And it wasn't like a
I get
group
that. Yeah,
ceremony.
forgot
I
about
get
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, you do have to. And I guess the way they would have done it, I think the idea is they probably didn't want to have credits and all that rolling for like people that are on the
While you're
move.
connected
Trying
and
to
stuff, I can understand that.
that's my theory. That's kind of my theory. I think that's probably why they did that. But yeah, it would have been nice to have it where it's like, the three of you still around, like, especially because it's like this NPC carries you, and then this other what the king carries you or something.
Yeah,
And so you have this
hilarious.
awesome little totem thing that happens, but realistically, they weren't with you. We were with each other,
Yeah.
the whole time.
And
But
we
it
did
does
manage
create
it though. We did kind of timed it so that we did see the ending together. We
Yeah.
could celebrate and laugh together about it and everything.
Mhm.
Like that worked out pretty well.
With all our European copies, because when we first tried with my US, they
Yeah,
do
we were
have
trying.
things differently written down differently. The dialogue is different.
Oh,
Remember we
of
were talking about?
course. Yeah, we're
And
talking
it was
about the
like, what?
regional differences in the text, weren't we? Yeah.
I mean, even here, the back of the box, almost everything is different. Like the pictures are the same, but the descriptions are different, which makes no sense.
I
It's
don't
so
think
bizarre.
that will ever change, and I kind of like that stuff anyway. So
Yeah.
No, for sure, but it's so bizarre because it's
if,
like it's English.
if anything, for when we're talking about the ending being there as a group and stuff, it's one thing to highlight is that even the online multiplayer for this acts in a very small, isolated hub, within the castle, which you can have fun in, where we're playing, bounce the beach ball, which had loads of great
Yes.
Zelda tunes that we recognize and stuff as it kept going. Fantastic. But what they could have done is just made that town as the hub, and then you'll go into the castle, and then for the end of the game, when you to save the whole credits thing happening, you'd have to stand on a Triforce in front of the castle and say, "You ready to for the celebratory ceremony?" And you'd all stand on there and go, "Hiya!" And then you'd all watch the ending together as you're all doing it. So it's just one of those things. If they were going to do it, it's probably how they could have and should have done it. You could have all gone to the shops together, which we all have to do individually as well. The town really was its own single player thing, wasn't it? In that
Yeah,
respect.
because there's different quests within the town and stuff, and like little stories. But that's really like maybe to enhance the single player aspect of it. And we never even did the DLC, the Den of Trials. We never even tried that. And the
I
only
think
way
we were so beaten, super happy, but brutalized by the difficulty of that final boss. We were just like, "What?"
Plus, because we haven't mentioned it, because I wanted to mention that in the beginning, but we finished this game like on the nick of time, like literally the day afterwards. They shut it down because like we started like half a year ago, and then stuff kept happening. I go on a vacation, Jay has his kids, like Robert has to go to Japan and stuff for like 2 to 3 weeks and stuff. So we kept having breaks. Like we literally finished it like a day before they shut it off. So we had that final boss was already brutal as hell, but we have that stress for like, bro, if we don't finish this tonight, man, it's not gonna happen.
It was literally some Majora's Mask, 24 hours remains. Literally that. Speaking of also the ending, I do want to shout out the credits. I do think the credits look awesome with the whole storybook.
Great
thing.
artwork.
I always appreciate awesome credits. Someone that seems like they give effort, and it just, to me, it just shows how much love that the game has had and was put together. Again, it was crazily designed, really well designed. I love the art style, and I think that in terms of little complaints, I think if you're so connected in terms of 3 players, you should have had that whole town be together. Especially because a lot of times you're just kind of waiting around in the lobby. We could have been, doing things instead of waiting. Stuff like that.
But I think just what a game for us what a final game for us to play. With the 3DS officially, on its last legs being online, officially and stuff. Finishing on a Zelda game, that was just Yeah, I think we're just
A
gonna
mainline Zelda.
a
Hell
mainline
yeah,
Zelda
mainline
game,
Zelda
which
game.
we'll look back and we'll laugh at all of those silly things we've done. I remember doing a video of all those little silly things. I do in video games. Some of those silly things I've done, and we started doing some of those things in this game where we'd automatically go to we like when you stand on the Triforce in order to go to the next area, we seem to know what Triforce piece was ours in the end.
Yeah.
And then we'd always go to that same Triforce piece, or sometimes we'll squabble over it just for fun.
Or like, we would just carry each other, throw each other, just a little fun things here and there.
Yeah, our sprints to try and get to the treasure chest first, thinking, it's going to give us the best item, but I believe it was all random anyway. I don't think it was whoever got the first, but you'd be sprinting up there.
Or how Retro wants to get every little rupee, even though we would die because of it.
Greed was definitely my weakness, man. Like the times I murdered for the rupees.
I think we died too many times for the single green rupee.
Yeah,
left on the edge of a cliff or something, surrounded by fire.
There was some brutal ones where, there's some brutal ones where you'd be like literally further out, and we tried multiple times, and then we get there, it'd be like a single rupee, and we're like, oh my god.
I remember sometimes I saw like a blue rupee near the finish, and we will have like one heart left. I'm like, guys, I see a rupee, and James was like, no, fuck the rupee, we gotta go, we're dying.
Yeah, it's like what? We're not going to get a damn rupee. Look at us! Look at our health.
Yeah, sometimes we that's what I mean. But that's the hilarious thing. We all had our quirks, in there, and sometimes it got to the point where we wouldn't trust Robert to throw us or something, no, I'll throw you. Many times it resulted in death, on his actual...
and it's because I remember that because of the circle pad. I'm telling you, the circle pad, the way you control it. It'd be like I try to just go straight and then it ended up being a little bit on the side. And I'm like, oh my god, the damn circle pad. And you guys be like, man, you can't be talking about the circle pad. And then all of a sudden, you guys would do it right after.
Yeah,
it's like,
I think I said literally, I'm like, who's playing this circle pad? Let me do it. And then I literally threw the wrong angle as well. Into your doom, or sometimes we killing each other just with double hearts because you'd throw two people.
Yeah,
and it'd take two hearts and stuff. So it was super brutal.
Just like that a minute. So we got gameplay on screen, just right there, the whole snow level. You'll have was it who they clocked it running throwing us to the ledge, and then he would fall off. He's like, save yourself while you fly and dies. It's just so much funny shit like that would happen. And just if you were to compile all those things, it just makes it for just a incredibly entertaining multiplayer game that is super well designed, that created so many awesome memories, and it was one of my favorite personal co-op experiences I've ever had.
I completely agree.
Absolutely.
And I will say, if they were to make another, would you want to see another 3 player Zelda game, or like a different Nintendo franchise? I think they could cover that could do something like this. What do you guys think? Would you want?
I like I said, I was never. I don't remember being fully against this game. It was just a game at the wrong time. I think that with a lot of 3DS games, I think came at potentially the wrong time, depending on when it launched. But at the end of the day, I have played every multiplayer Zelda game, and I've loved every single one of them. And I will say, as much as I prefer the look of Four Swords Adventure, and its final boss, and its final boss as well, to be honest, just as a multiplayer game, I think this is the best one. I really do feel this is the best one.
I would absolutely want more, because I just love co-op multiplayer games where it's so well designed with these kind of puzzles and everything. I'd absolutely love to see something. It doesn't even need to be Zelda per se. We mentioned a bunch of games earlier. They could do something else. It's the same. That's why I love Nintendo Land so much. The Animal Crossing game, the Luigi game, the chasing the Toad stuff. When you're doing multiplayer stuff and you're kind of working on the same field together, it's a type of fun you just can't recreate in a single player game or in a fighting game. It just doesn't work. Plus, I mean, realistically, we said this is our favorite co-op gaming experience, and it absolutely counts for me as well. But we have to be honest, it's also the friends that you share it with. You know, if I had
Absolutely.
any two other guys, there's no way I would have had the same amount of fun.
Yeah,
With the way
for
we
sure.
can talk to each other and and with how we know each other and everything, that absolutely adds to that.
Yeah,
sure.
just sometimes being brutal with each other.
Yeah, you gotta be
I-
able to do that.
Like, don't touch me! Put me down! Put me down! I'll walk across here by myself. Don't touch me! What are you doing? What'd you throw me for? Dropping quite a lot of profanity sometimes.
Absolutely.
That's what it is. Like, it's just what friends and brothers do. Like, it all adds to it. And we'll look back on this and just can't see a ton. We'll talk fondly of it in every aspect. I think, even the difficulty and whatever, because it's it all made it part of that experience.
Because it's like, I remember like killing you guys a lot for the rupees, but I remember like a couple levels later there was a pretty hard rupee, and like he's just picking me up. He's like, grab this rupee, man. I know you want. He's like grabbing that rupee from me and shit. It's like, it's not just you, it's like, each other.
You understand. You understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And I will always look at this game fondly now, especially I'll be looking at both of them fondly since I got 2 copies, I guess. And it's just one for the books of the story. It's gaming history for me now, and it's definitely one that will always be underrated. Genuinely, like, I don't see how this game will ever be talked about as fondly ever, and it is one that I will always think very highly of. But unfortunately, the way the circumstances, how it released and things like that, it just will never quite get that. Although I did look it up, and it actually did sell over 1 million copies.
1.3 million, I think. Yeah, but I still feel that's pretty underwhelming for what it is, for what it should be and everything.
Yeah, I mean, considering like it says,
it's
like,
1.3 million copies, but let's assume most people buy it to play together. So you have like 400,000 people kind of finishing the game together. If you see it like
odds
that.
are, I bet you it's like, if we were to find stats, I bet you it'd be like 5% of the people finish this game. I'm sure it's really, really something low. And not surprised considering what it's in, and that's why I say it will always be underrated. And a lot of people are not going to even rank this game in terms of mainline status, which it is some good mainline shit. Because it is some of the most impressive puzzles.
Because, like I said, I'm against the whole timeline stuff. But when you look it up, they actually designed this game to be in a specific point, like 5th place on the timeline, on a specific thing. They count. Nintendo counts this as an official mainline Zelda. And I like what you said earlier. I wanted to say that still, where I used to look at this game on my shelf and I'd be like, I want to play this someday. I have nobody to play this with. Every time I would look at this game like that, and now when I see it on my shelf, I just think of like all the hours we all spent together, like bonding over this game, fighting over this game, crying together, winning together, like all these emotions. Now when I see it on my shelf, it's like, yeah, that's some good shit.
And we literally had tears in our eyes with laughter sometimes.
Yeah.
Legit.
And I guess you got to thank Nintendo for shutting down the service, or else we would have been playing it.
I think it's a bad incentive, to try and quickly, get certain experiences, out of the way. But it is what it is. We got round to play it. We worked it out. We got the timing, and I'm so glad. Even if I had bought this at launch, like you did, you paid that semi full price for it. Cause it was never the 3DS games, were never crazy.
Yeah, they're 40.
So and even if I paid for it, just those years later, having that experience with it, it just would have been 100% worth it. It's you just 100% worth it. I could never touch this game again, which I probably never will. Because it's just I just won't be able to replicate it in the same way. Even if we went back to it and tried to replay it, it's just never going to be the same. It's just one of those moments caught in time, and it's a great time. We saw this as our swan song for the 3DS in some respect, when the 3DS was still effectively online for Nintendo, so it's still is somewhat an active system. and this was our swan song. Like, I think it's perfect. Great 3D Zelda game with friends. Ugh, come on, hilarious. Tears on our faces, crying with laughter, rage inducing. Just everything you want for multiplayer game. So,
well said, well said. And well, you guys have any final thoughts? I think we talked about literally all aspects of the game pretty much. You have any more final thoughts? Anything left that you have to be said that maybe thought of you forgot to talk about? Let me know.
Yep, I would say you need to practice on your 2D sword play in Zelda games. Because me and Retro can't do all the fighting all the time. While you hide, don't blame the circle pad. It's actually, it works. It's I'll say it's the most amazing controller. No, my final thoughts are, boys, this game was freaking awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad we actually got round to playing it. And I just absolutely loved it. And I think when we finished it, we were just like, almost like we didn't want to go. It's like we'd finally finished it, but we didn't wanted to finish it in some ways. We just it just ended perfectly. This is my 3DS swan song. Even if I buy 1 or 2 3DS games I never got around to playing, this is my 3DS swan song, and I love having a memorable swan song for the system.
Yeah,
like I said, I can't think of anything better for me. So yeah, my final thoughts.
Like for me, it's like what I said earlier. Like I can't imagine it playing with any other 2 people, and you guys like constantly like yelling at each other, like laughing, like painful laughs, just like ridiculous with some of these situations that like all were thanks to how this game was designed. Like you're trying to work together. I remember, for example, a scene where the snowballs were falling, and I'm like holding this fireball while you guys trying to get over a cliff, and then all of a sudden, like instead of a snowball, a giant rock comes that you weren't expecting, and we're all dying. Everybody's running everywhere, and you're just like laughing. And I feel the whole game was just designed like that to make you laugh, and we're playing together, like bonding over this, and it's like a gaming experience that could never be replicated. I mean, they could make another game. You can play it together. It's not the same. You can't replicate, I feel, what we lived thanks to this game. Everything just worked together with Nintendo shutting down the online, and like us having our like Nuke Gang group, like knowing each other, like fighting and crying over this game. Like it was an absolutely amazing experience. Absolutely perfect.
I was just laughing at the screen again, just seeing
Rob
throwing us into the fire. He's just like, don't. It's literally the whole game. Like, don't pick me up. Just don't touch me. Put me down, please. Exactly. Yeah, just anxiety inducing. I'm about to die moments.
Yeah. So there's really a lot of those. I mean, literally, you had a compilation of all the times where someone accidentally killed someone. You accidentally fell yourself. There's so many things. And it makes it for both hilarious and very also intense when it needs to be. And it just ends up being a perfect scenario because of it. But yeah, that was Triforce Heroes. Again, crazy enough, 9 years ago, so almost a decade later, we did play it, and it was a great, like as Collector would say, swan song for the 3DS, and just that whole online, that era, and it does make it quite sad, but also a great, memorable ending to a life cycle of that era of Nintendo. That admittedly, I feel like is definitely gone now. Obviously, we all believe, in terms of how the online is, that era is just very, very different, and we'll always miss it. And this will always be a reminder of how great it was, and it still is. But this type of game, you never can replicate that. Absolutely. But yeah, that was it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. That has been our discussion of The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. Have a good one. Go play it somehow. I know that you got the Pretendo servers. You want to do that? Hey, man, go download that.
If you have friends in person, you could still do it. You can still play together if you know people in real life when you're together.
Well, if you know people in real life that also have it. Go play it. But the odds are, considering it's 1 million sold and it's on the 3DS, the odds are you don't have 2 other people near you that have this and a 3DS. That's the odds. But hey, maybe not. But if you do, god damn it, play it because it's really damn good. And yeah, see you all next time. Thank you, Nintendo. Thank you, Grezzo. Didn't Grezzo make this game?
Yeah,
It was
Grezzo and
Thank you,
Nintendo
Grezzo. Forget you, Nintendo. No. Thank you guys
Awesome.
so much. It's been a pleasure. Fantastic game. Peace.
Got like 10 different rooms I don't even really use. Gonna knock the walls down, make it into be our room. I could do this shit cause man, this shit feels like a city. Population only 1 with some visited titties. Many women come and go, I just lost count. Google says my net worth 10 mil, but that's a low amount. Took a flight to Kyoto to meet Miyamoto. Homie gave me the new 3D Mario. Treated like a local.